There's a ton of things happening that are really supporting all pillars of sustainability in India: people, planet, profit. Really looking at things that start from farm and are fiber forward all the way through to the end product.
Yeah, again, from small, medium, and large, that was a topic of conversation, and there was investments and process in place to improve it.
Welcome to Clothing Culture, a fashion industry podcast at the intersection of technology and innovation. I'm Emily Lane.
And I'm Bret Schnitker. We speak with experts and disruptors who are moving the industry forward and discuss solutions to real industry challenges.
Clothing Culture is produced by Stars Design Group, a global design and production house with more than 30 years of experience. Welcome back to another episode of Clothing Culture. We are having another tabletop conversation today. This is where we address questions from our audience and also have topical conversations. Today, we are here to talk about India. Bret and I just spent about a month traveling the country, visiting our two offices in Bangalore and Tirupur, and we were so excited about all of the developments that we've seen in this country, all of which, well, not all, but a fair amount, let's just say, we're going to share with you in today's conversation. I'd like to start with a little context, however. Bret, you have been traveling in India for over 30 years. You have this long history there. What was it about this country that you saw opportunity in?
Yeah, that's a great question because the country's changed so much over the years. But in the early days, it really was the people. And in our business, people make a big difference. And different cultures have different strengths and weaknesses. And I really found the Indian people, especially obviously the ones that we interacted with in our business, to be very entrepreneurial, really focused on overcoming obstacles, achieving positive results. And India, in the early days, there were a lot of obstacles. So these people that were in the business just had their hands full, but they figured it out. And I was really impressed by that. And they didn't put up a lot of excuses. They didn't put up a lot of roadblocks, with new creative ideas. It was just, they're just so ingratiating and warm. I really enjoyed the country initially because of that.
You talked about how much has changed over the years. What are some of the things that India today is known for?
People. Again, 1.4 billion of them.
Number one in the world.
On our trip, they were so proud to say, we're number one in population. And it was everywhere you saw it, it was evident. 12-lane highways, one direction, fully booked like it was the 405 in Southern California.
Lanes are just a suggestion.
They are, of course. They're known for a number of different things. They're known for cotton, obviously, in terms of fabrication. That's the chief production category in our business there. Mm-hmm. Outside of our business, certainly technology, medicine, pharmaceuticals, the list goes on and on. Mangoes. The country has a lot of different things that today puts them on the map, if you will. And more specifically in our business, large manufacturing units and the ability to be more vertical in the country. I think today they've made a lot of investments in technology when others haven't. Infrastructure today is more of a real achievable goal than it was when I started years ago. Infrastructure really got in the way, but flyovers and roads and subways and overpasses and construction at a pace that is just unparalleled. So there's a lot that India is known for today. I could go on and on.
Yeah. And again, that people side of it. One of the things that I was so impressed by when we were there was seeing all of the energy put behind making sure that workers are being treated very well. Yeah. Education programs for women and support for when they're not feeling well, and on-site rest beds and all kinds of things, which I thought was just so innovative.
Yeah.
In today's landscape, we are seeing wonderful evolution in investment in synthetics. And then, of course, a key area sustainability. Let's start a little bit
two
with
sides of the spectrum, sort of, right?
Right.
The world's buying a lot of synthetics, and India has to join that kind of business sector. They've been far lagging, but on the other side, it's not a fantastic fiber for anything eco-friendly. But as you mentioned, we saw so many things in the country where, unlike any other country that I have seen, the investment in eco-friendly and sustainability is, factory to factory, small, medium, large, they're all having that conversation.
Right. So with regards to synthetics, what are some of the things that that you see on the horizon in the next 5 years as a result of some of the conversations that we had?
Yeah, I think India, like I mentioned before, has always lagged behind in synthetics. They've always focused on cotton as a main crop, if you will. Petroleum products really haven't ever found their way to large volumes in the country. And I think Modi understands that as there's this, quote, current or temporary, if you will, transient perhaps flight from China, that there needs to be other opportunities for people to buy synthetics. We had talked in previous episodes that today the apparel industry is buying at least 55% in synthetics. That number is expected to go to 75 or 80, maybe even higher based upon some of the challenges in cotton worldwide. So India realizes that they got to get in that game. Yeah. India in the past, they've always embraced building and infrastructure and all these things, but there's never been something tied to timing. So I always joke with our offices there that the 5-year subway that's being built that's now on its 15th year or 10th year, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. Uniquely, the investment in infrastructure to manage a stronger, more robust synthetic pipeline, fiber forward, is now tied to government incentives and timelines.
Yeah.
And so they have to achieve these massive goals, and if they want their incentive, they got to hit the timeline. So I think that actually is a very unique shift in process for India in this sector.
Yeah, absolutely. The hot topic of today, and it's been a hot topic for a while, and for so long we felt defeated by the quest towards sustainability. But upon this recent trip, we were just so delighted about our findings. There's a ton of things happening that are really supporting all pillars of sustainability in India: people, planet, profit. Really looking at things that start from farm and are fiber forward all the way through to the end product. I'd love for you to tell everybody out there a little bit about what we saw.
Yeah, again, from small, medium, and large, that was a topic of conversation, and there was investments and process in place to improve it. In other episodes, I've talked about that sustainability will probably find traction when it is an imperative goal. And when you hit 1.4 billion people, and resource drain is a big conversation in all aspects, energy resource drain is one of those key components. And so to stoke the heating in dyeing units, they're depleting forests at an unbelievable rate. So based upon necessity, they're moving to solar power, massive solar power farms and wind farms, more solar than wind today. But that's replacing the burn rate, if you will, of wood. It's a necessity. They're going to have no trees in the country if they continue at the pace. So as that kicks in, solar starts becoming, and these solar farms are massive, huge solar farms. And so we're seeing that take place all the way through the country, and it continues down the pipeline. If you're not figuring out ways to reduce the use of power and electricity, you're going to have that resource drain in cities for people to live, et cetera, especially when India gets very, very hot, keeping people cool and things like that. So it's finding its way down through industry, I think because of necessity. They're also understanding the importance of marketing and positioning themselves in more of a sustainable direction. And so you're seeing things within the country. They're recognizing that even within a lot of their current levels of pay, et cetera, that a lot of factories are turned to paying living wages and fair trade wages, et cetera. So they're going down that extra step to get certified. It's easier in this country to become fair trade certified. That's a big important thing for a lot of European and Western nations. So we're finding fair trade. It's not that they're having to reorganize their factories in such a massive way. They're just taking advantage that they're already more of a fair trade certified. It requires a little bit more oversight and business, but we're finding more and more people moving down that path. They're also looking and monitoring the efficiency of their resource utilization, and that's in the form of GOTS. I think everywhere that we went, factory to factory, everyone was talking about their GOTS certification.
What's GOTS?
Got me. I don't know. So no, it's a process in which they have outside certifications that analyze how efficiently they're managing all of their resources, and they give a certain level to how sustainable their utilizations are. And so in future episodes, we'll probably go into a lot more information on
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. One of the programs that I was really also very interested in when we were talking to a very large producer there was a program that they had where they took organic cotton seeds and gave them to farmers to grow organically their cotton. And then on top of providing them the seeds, they paid them above market value for the cotton they produced, which was a huge shift in dynamic because there have been other producers out there that in the past have taken advantage of cotton growers.
That typically happens.
Okay.
Along the chain, most farmers and growers get the short end of the stick. The converters, if you will, make a sizable profit on cotton when they're buying bales, et cetera. And so there is a shift. It's not a large shift, but there certainly is a shift to more of a fair trade pipeline down through the farmers. And then the Better Cotton Initiative, there's two sides to every story. I tend to believe that the conversation is more gray than it is black and white about GMO seeds versus organic. There are certain genetically modified seeds that are modified to sustain, drought conditions and things like that. And I think that helps in certain cases where people can put more food on the table. So I wouldn't say that it's black or white for me, but I'm thankful that through the Better Cotton Initiative, there's a lot more organic going on, reducing harmful pesticides in the soil. Again, when you think about 1.4 billion, the condensation, if you will, of humanity into smaller areas, you want to make sure you're protecting resource and land. And I think all those things start to make sense for sure.
Yeah, I love how holistic the process is that we were seeing. Like there are a lot of efforts of, reducing that concern of the carbon footprint, as well as honoring that, the initiative of reducing environmental impact. And we've seen earlier phases of some of the water reclamation and some of those efforts in the past, but it was really nice to see how through and through they're being very thoughtful of both sides of this equation.
Sure.
Well, as you mentioned, we are absolutely going to focus deeper on this conversation in a future podcast because there are a lot of questions and goals about sustainability and access to sustainable production and materials. So definitely be on the lookout for that conversation coming forward. We wanted to make sure and share some of the exciting things that we saw upon our recent trip. And Bret, do you have any other final thoughts to share?
I think India is primed for some tremendous growth. I was really excited when I was in the country. I've always had a fascination and love for India over my 30 years, and I'm glad that they're really working on coming to the table as there is definitely a geographic shift in our production, and India stands to gain a lot with what they're doing. So.
Yeah, I agree. I was so impressed. It was my first trip, and I was so impressed by the industriousness, as you have expressed in the past, and just how hardworking and sincere all of the people that we're working with are there. It was a tremendous opportunity to get to see it firsthand. So thank you for sharing your insights, Bret, and thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe, stay apprised of upcoming episodes of Clothing Culture.